This evening we're going to talk about forgiveness. We're going to talk about how to let go, how to get to a place of forgiveness, and just what forgiveness is. You know, what is forgiveness? Why do we get told to go towards forgiveness? Now, especially in the spiritual community and the healing community, you're always told that the goal is to get to forgiveness. This is true, it does have truth in it, but it's not as clear as it should be, really. It's not the full explanation. The goal isn't to get to forgiveness. Forgiveness is a byproduct of reaching the goal of where you're trying to go. Now, where you're trying to go and the goal is letting go. So by letting go, you then forgive. You know, you've heard a lot where maybe you've experienced it as well, when you get told, oh, you just need to forgive, and you're like, I can't forgive. And there are reasons for that. So what is letting go? You know, you hear it all the time. Let's say we're talking about, let's have an example. Let's say the reference of what we're going through is, I'm referring to my ex-partner, or, you know, family issues that I have. So you're being told to let it go, and you try to let it go, but what does that mean? So you like, well, I don't know, I don't understand. I understand that I need to let it go, but I don't know what that actually means. So how do you let go of something or someone? You know, what are you actually letting go of? What are we holding on to, like, that I need to let go? What is even going on? To understand, we need to understand how we work as humans, how we work emotionally, just what's going on, what we're holding on to in order to be able to let it go. So we need to go towards understanding a human being emotionally. Now, we have so many experiences in our lives that fall under the definition of trauma. Now, when that happens, we experience a split in the consciousness, in our consciousness. And if you think of consciousness as like a river, so I'm going to show you this diagram. So this is the river of consciousness, and we would have an experience and it would create a split, like a split in the river. And then we would have two aspects of ourselves. Now, these aspects would have their own needs, wants, and desires. What we do in that moment is we take one aspect on and we reject one aspect by putting it in our subconscious. Now, to get a full understanding of that, to know exactly what's happening in greater detail, you can go to my YouTube channel, and I've got a video called What is Trauma? You can get a lot more understanding there. But for the purposes of what we're talking about, you know, we're okay with just explaining what happens in that moment. We reject an aspect and we take on an aspect. Now, trauma itself is distress without resolve. So if we have an experience that's distressful without any resolution emotionally, then that falls in the category of trauma. And our minds only work in complete life experiences. So if I'm distressed without a resolution, then it's not a complete life experience. So your mind is constantly trying to get that experience complete. Now, because it's not complete, and because there was distress without resolution, in that moment, there were needs that weren't met. And as a human being, it's very, very normal that I have needs. Now, these needs are not being met. So if they were met, then that would be the complete life experience. So now, as a way to keep myself safe, I have to find a way to meet these needs internally with myself. And this is where the split in the consciousness comes in. This is where the survival mind kicks in. And this is how we actually keep ourselves safe. So because of the unmet needs, this is why I can't let it go. Because my needs are unmet from the experience that I had in the past, whatever that experience is. We only think that trauma is only when something really serious happens, like a car crash or death in the family or sexual abuse. Trauma actually happens emotionally so much more than you would think. You're talking hundreds, if not thousands, of experiences throughout your life where it's fallen in the definition of trauma, which has caused the survival mind to kick in and then learn how to meet your own needs in these types of ways. Now, I keep myself safe by meeting those needs however I can. One of the main ways that we meet those unmet needs is by using resentment. Resentment is a way of meeting an unmet need. It's kind of like a reminder to ourselves that, I will never let anyone do that to me again. It's one of the ways we actually keep ourselves safe. And resentment is, let's say, it's like, I always say, it's like the cousin of anger. And the emotion of anger is a higher vibrational emotion than fear. We use anger or resentment as a way to stay away and not feel the fear under it. So this could be in our childhood where we've had an experience where we may have been scolded and there was fear there. So we had to have the split because our survival mind kicked in, and then through the experience and everything that happened, we had to learn how to meet that need ourselves. Now, if we going off the example of, let's say, an ex-partner, it's very common that we resent our ex-partner. Because of the breakup, I have a lot of my core-rooted beliefs firing off, triggering. So I would have abandonment wounds that would be firing off. And I don't want to feel them because this is how I've kept myself safe. So through using resentment, I'm actually keeping myself from feeling the undesirable emotion that I don't want to feel. It's a way that I'm meeting an unmet need. So, what is forgiveness? Now, we've been told, and a lot of people believe, that forgiveness is to accept something. You just got to accept it. And once you accept it, then you can forgive. And that's not the case. That's not what forgiveness is. Because I can give you something and you can accept it, but not like it. So, if forgiveness is not acceptance, what is forgiveness? Forgiveness is when you find approval for. I understand, it's very, very normal to think I can never find approval for what happened to me. But what does that mean? What does it mean to find approval for? An example of this would be, I'll give you an example from my personal journey. So I have been through many, many different types of trauma, through many, many different types of experiences with many, many different types of people. If I hadn't have gone through basically all of them or a lot of them or whatever, I wouldn't be the person I am today, and I wouldn't be able to help people, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do and put the content out, and I wouldn't be the personality that I am. I wouldn't have learnt the lessons that I have, which have brought me to the awareness that I have. And because I'm at a place where I love myself so much and I accept myself so much for who I am, I recognize that it's because what I went through that got me to this place. And I wouldn't be able to help people, which is what I love, if I didn't go through that. That allows me to find approval for what happened to me, which has brought me to a place of being able to forgive what's happened to me. It's very, very understandable that after we okay, well, I know what forgiveness is. So now all I need to do is work it out. Now I need to work out, okay, if that didn't happen, then this didn't happen. And we're using logic. But you can't jump to forgiveness through logic. It doesn't work. It requires you to do the work. It requires you to do the emotional work. So you have to feel the emotions, you have to go into the emotions, you have to do the work, and then arrive at a place of forgiveness. Even if you logically work it out, it's not like that. This still requires the work. But remember, the goal isn't forgiveness. The goal is letting go. So how do we let go? Now that we know that that's the goal, we know what forgiveness is, we know that that's not the real goal, it's the byproduct of the goal. The goal is letting go. How do we let go? We let go by meeting the unmet needs of the aspect. So in the moment where that split occurred and we rejected an aspect of ourselves, the ones that has different needs, wants, and desires to us, the needs of that aspect are unmet. So we get to a place of letting go by taking that aspect on, feeling the emotions that aspect is feeling, understanding where it comes from, what happened, what that part of ourselves needs, and then meeting those needs. The way we let go is by healing that part of ourselves. This is what healing is. And this is why no one can force themselves to get to these places of letting go and forgiveness. It requires the work. Now, once we heal and meet the needs, then that is when we will feel the letting go, not just logically know it. And then at that point, resentment won't be required to meet those needs. So then that's what we're letting go of. We're letting go of the resentment, which is what we've used to meet those needs. And through that journey, we learn so much and we start to love who we are. And because we've learned so much and because we heal through self-love, there's no other way of healing. You can only heal through self-love and self-acceptance. And when you get to a place of loving the self and these parts of you and accepting these parts of you, then you get to a place where you're approving of who you are. You go, you know what? I really love this version of myself. I really love these parts of myself. And I wouldn't be this if I didn't go through what I went through. So because self-love is so powerful, that's how we will find approval for what's happened, which is what forgiveness is, through letting go. Now that doesn't mean if I find approval for and I forgive, then I will allow that to happen again. It's actually the exact opposite. When you get to that level, when you get to that stage where you actually love yourself that much that you learn to forgive, well, not learn to forgive, when you get to the stage where you love yourself that much that you get to a place of forgiveness, because you have that self-love, you won't allow yourself to be treated like that again. As a lot of people have that concern of, well, if I forgive, then that means then, the person gets away with it or it'll happen again. And that's not the case, because you have more boundaries because you're loving yourself. Now, I've met the needs, I can let go, and I forgive. The way that I do this, the healing of being able to forgive others, also works towards myself. Even though we all have emotional healing to do, and we all have emotional healing to do towards others, there's a lot of people that can't forgive themselves for certain things that they might have done in the past. So how do I get to a place of forgiving myself? Exactly the same way. You would understand what rejected aspects that you have, And then you would heal those parts of yourself, so much so you keep going and going and going and keep healing and keep healing. And eventually, when you're pulling all of these parts of yourself, all of these aspects of yourself in and accepting, you'll start cultivating self-love, and then that way you will get to a place of forgiveness. One of the most asked questions that I get is, how do you heal? And this is never a one sentence answer. In fact, it's like asking a mechanic, how do you fix that part of the engine, without knowing how the car works, without understanding how the entire car works, or the rest of the engine, or anything. You know, to heal isn't to do just one thing. It's a collection of understanding how you work, understanding the experiences that you've had in your life, what that's done, how it's affected you, and then having the tools to be able to deal and heal yourself. Now, because that was my most asked question, I actually created an online course to be able to teach anyone how to heal. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you'd like to learn how to emotionally heal yourself, check out my online course titled Emotionally Heal Yourself. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And also click that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a video.